Welcome to the Quiet Else. If this is your first time here, I'm glad you found your way. And if you've been here before, then maybe something brought you back. Before we begin, take a moment, breathe. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, let the outside world drift away. And if you enjoy stories that unfold slowly, that stay with you long after they end, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and tell me in the comments, where are you listening from, and what brought you here? Now get comfortable, because what you're about to hear isn't quite a dream, and it isn't quite real. It's something else, something quiet, something waiting. Some dreams fade like smoke when morning breaks, but some stay with you. They settle deep like an old photograph in a drawer, forgotten but not gone. And then one day, without warning, they come back, not as dreams, but as places. It started on a road. You don't remember how you got there, only that the wheel was in your hands, and the sky above was a deep, heavy gray. The road stretched ahead like ribbon, broken in places by time and tree roots. No signs, no sounds, no end. You were alone, but it didn't feel lonely. It felt quiet. The kind of quiet that settles just before something changes. Then came the turn. A small side road, narrow, cracked, swallowed slightly by grass. No reason to turn, but you did. You followed it through tall trees until the world opened again. And there it was, a house. Not large, but not small. Faded white siding, nearly gray. A porch, a single swing, hanging crooked by one chain. And one window, lit. The light flickered, like candlelight behind an old curtain. Something in your chest pulled. Not panic, not fear, just recognition. You stepped out of the car. The gravel was soft under your feet, and when the wind blew, it smelled faintly of summer rain. You walked toward the porch. The swing creaked once, and just before your hand reached the doorknob, the light in the window went out. You woke up. No fear, just the sense that something had started. You didn't tell anyone, not because you were afraid, but because it didn't feel like a dream worth sharing. At least not yet. The next day felt normal, until it didn't. At the grocery store, while choosing coffee beans, a song played overhead. Soft, old, familiar. You couldn't name it, but you knew it. You hummed along without thinking. And then, by the checkout, your eyes caught the front of a local magazine, one you'd never read before. The headline read, "Abandoned farmhouse still a mystery. 30 years, no clues." You picked it up, and there it was, the porch, the peeling paint, the same swing still hanging by one chain. A lump formed in your throat. You tried to reason with yourself. Maybe you saw the photo before, somewhere deep in your memory. Maybe your brain stitched it into your dream. But as you turned the page, one sentence froze you. Locals say the house still lights up some nights, but no one's lived there in decades. That night, as you lay in bed, you wondered, had your dream shown you the house? Or had the house shown itself to you? And if so, why now? Dreams, by their nature, tend to scatter. They lose shape the more you try to hold them. But not this one. This one came back. Not stronger, not louder, just clearer. 3 nights later, the same road returned. You recognized it before you even opened your eyes. The cracked pavement, the arching trees, the sky, this time darker, tinted with deep blue. The song played again, faint, like it was coming from far behind you. You couldn't see the car now. There was no engine, no seat beneath you. Just you, standing in the middle of the road, facing the house, the same house. But this time, the door was open, not wide, just enough. You moved forward. The porch groaned under your step. That swing, still hanging, still crooked, still gently swaying, even though the air was perfectly still. The open door revealed a narrow hallway, dark wood, dust suspended in the air like ash. And then something new, A picture frame, crooked on the wall just inside. You couldn't see the image, but as you stepped closer, you heard something. Footsteps, not yours. You turned. No one. You looked back to the frame. The picture inside was now visible, faded, black and white. A man and a woman, standing on the porch of this very house. The man had no face, blurred out, but the woman's eyes, they looked right at you, almost through you, and then she smiled. That's when the door slammed shut. You gasped awake. This time, the feeling didn't fade. All morning, the image clung to your thoughts. The house, the hallway, the woman's eyes. By noon, you found yourself searching for the magazine article again. It wasn't online, not archived, not even on the publisher's site. The copy you saw? Gone. You went back to the store, asked the clerk. They had no memory of it. No issues from that week left. You checked your phone history. Nothing. Almost like it had been placed there just long enough for you to see it and then removed. That night, you didn't want to sleep, but you did. And the dream was waiting. This time, you're already inside. The hallway stretched longer now, lit by flickering sconces. The floor creaked behind you with every step you took. Echoes that didn't match your own movements. Along the walls were doors, some open, some closed, each one revealing glimpses of strange, fragmented memories. A dining room set for two, but covered in dust. A mirror cracked across the center, but your reflection didn't move when you did. A clock ticking backward, and then a sound, a whisper, not a voice you recognized, not words you understood, but it came from the end of the hallway. You walked slowly, each step heavier than the last, like the floor wanted to hold you there. And when you reached the end, there was a single door, white, perfectly clean, too clean compared to the rest of the house, and carved into the center, room 6. You placed your hand on the doorknob. It was cold, and just before you turned it, you woke up, sweating, heart racing, but still not afraid. You were starting to feel something else now, fascination, like the dream wasn't haunting you. It was calling you, or maybe showing you something, piece by piece. Over the next few nights, you didn't dream at all, or if you did, you couldn't remember. But the silence of your sleep felt loud, like something was waiting behind a curtain, just out of reach. And then, one evening, as you were scrolling on your phone, a notification popped up. You didn't recognize the app. It wasn't installed. It was a location ping. 6 miles away. Point of interest, room 6. You blinked, looked again. It was gone. That night, the dream returned. But the house wasn't in it. Instead, you were on the road again. Only this time, you weren't driving. You were standing still. And far down the road, silhouetted by headlights that weren't yours, stood the woman. From the picture, from the porch, from before. She raised her hand and pointed. You didn't wake up this time. The dream ended with you still standing there, waiting. The next morning, something was different. You woke up with the taste of the dream still in your mouth. Dry, metallic, unfamiliar. Your limbs were heavy, but your mind was sharp, alert, almost like you brought something back with you. You went about your day as usual. Coffee, emails, dishes, but small things started to go wrong. The radio in the kitchen, silent for years, suddenly turned on by itself. It played static for a full minute before switching to a song you hadn't heard since childhood. The exact same one from the dream. The one playing when you first saw the house. You didn't touch the dial. You just stood there, listening. Later, you opened your laptop, and there it was, a file on your desktop you hadn't seen before. 6 room, all caps. You hovered your cursor over it, hesitating, double-clicked. Inside was a single image, the house. Same angle, same porch, same crooked swing, But it wasn't from a dream. It was a photo, grainy, a real photo, taken from a distance. You stared at it. No metadata, no date, no source. Just there, waiting. The next few days blurred. You couldn't focus at work. You canceled plans. You started walking more, wandering your neighborhood. Sometimes you weren't even sure where you were going until you looked up. One afternoon, you found yourself outside a small antique bookstore. Not one you'd ever noticed before. It had no sign, just a bell on the door and a dusty window. You stepped inside. The shop smelled of old wood and forgotten pages. Stacks of books filled every corner. No music, no register, just silence. A woman sat behind the counter. She looked up, but didn't greet you. Instead, she said, "It's been showing up again, hasn't it?" Your throat tightened. "Excuse me?" She didn't answer, just nodded toward the far end of the shop. "It's in the local section, bottom shelf." You hesitated, but followed her gaze, and there it was, a thin, yellowed booklet, titled simply, Room 6, A Local Folklore. No author listed. You picked it up and turned the pages. Inside were old reports, scans of newspaper clippings, police logs, interviews, all about a rural house outside the county line. A house that people dreamed about. A house that people claimed had called to them. Some disappeared. Some came back different. Some never spoke of it again. Your hands trembled as you flipped through the last pages. There, taped to the inside cover, was a photo of the woman, the one from your dream. You turned to ask the woman at the counter, but the seat was empty. You looked back toward the door. The bell hadn't rung. No sound at all. You bought the booklet, paid cash. When you got home, you tried to find the bookstore online. It wasn't listed. No address. No reviews. You checked your GPS history. No record of the visit. But the booklet was still in your hands. Still real. Still there. That night, you didn't want to dream. But sleep came fast. Heavy. And this time, the dream started with a name. Yours. Spoken softly. Then louder. Then whispered again and again. Until the sound was all you could hear. You opened your eyes in the dream, and there was the house. But the swing was gone. The door was wide open, and something had changed. Smoke curled from the chimney. Light flickered in the upstairs window. The place was no longer abandoned. It was waiting. You stepped forward again. Inside, the hallway stretched longer than before. But this time, you weren't alone. At the far end stood a child, no more than 7, back turned, standing completely still. You called out. Your voice sounded muffled, like underwater. The child didn't move. You took one step closer, and he turned his head slightly, just enough to speak. You forgot something. Your heart stopped. What? But he only pointed, not at you, at the mirror. You turned, and there, in the cracked glass, wasn't your reflection. It was the woman, standing behind you, eyes open, mouth closed. She didn't move, but you felt her whisper right behind your ear, "You have to go back." And you woke up, this time sitting up straight. No gasping, no fear, only certainty that this wasn't over. Not just a dream, not just memory, but a direction. You spent the next morning pacing. The booklet from the bookstore lay open on the table, its worn pages now dotted with your notes, maps, and questions. You couldn't shake the feeling. It wasn't just a dream anymore. You took a photo of the house from the mysterious desktop file and fed it into an image search. At first, nothing. Then, deep in a local forum archive, someone had posted an old comment under a thread titled, "Places You Shouldn't Go After Dark." It read, "There's this place out past Route 19. An old farmhouse off a dirt path that doesn't show up on maps. I swear I've seen it before, in dreams, but I only ever found it once. And I didn't stay long. No coordinates. but enough to find a direction. You packed a bag, just a camera, water, flashlight. You didn't tell anyone where you were going. Somehow, you knew that would only complicate things. The drive out of town was quiet. Suburbs gave way to long, empty stretches of road, then forest, then hills, then nothing but rust-colored dirt and the hum of wind against the car windows. Finally, the paved road ended. You turned off onto a narrow path, overgrown and unmarked, exactly as described. A few minutes in, your GPS blinked. Signal gone. But it didn't matter, because up ahead, through the thinning trees, you saw it. The house. It was real, exactly as you'd seen it. Same tilt in the porch. Same faded white siding. Same swing now still. But in the waking world, it felt smaller, dustier, quieter. You parked the car and stepped out. No birds. No wind. Just stillness. You approached the porch. Each creak under your boots echoed louder than expected. And then you reached the door. You expected it to be locked. It wasn't. It opened slowly as if expecting you. Inside, dust-covered furniture, faded curtains, and the lingering scent of mildew and something metallic, just like in the dream. The hallway was there, too, narrow, dim, and at the far end, a mirror, this time clean, untouched. You walked toward it. Your reflection stared back, but something in the background caught your eye. You turned. No one was there, but in the mirror, she was the woman from your dreams. Same dress, same expressionless gaze. Only now her mouth moved. No sound, just motion. You leaned closer, trying to read her lips. A single phrase. Go downstairs. There was no basement in the dream. But now, just to your left, was a narrow stairwell leading down into shadow. You turned on your flashlight. The steps creaked under your weight, the air growing colder with each descent. At the bottom, a single room, concrete walls, an old chair, and scratched into the floor in a looping, frantic hand. Room 6, over and over. Suddenly, your flashlight flickered. Then darkness. You froze. And then footsteps above. Slow, deliberate, heading toward the stairwell. You pressed yourself to the wall, breath held. The steps came closer, then stopped. Silence. You waited. 1 minute, 2, 3, nothing. You turned the flashlight back on, reluctantly. No one. You hurried back up, but when you returned to the hallway, the mirror was shattered, your reflection gone. Instead, etched into glass were 3 words. You were warned. You didn't look back as you left the house. Didn't close the door. Didn't take a single photo. But when you got into the car, there was a note on the seat. Old paper. No handwriting. Just an image of you standing in the mirror. You drove home in silence. Didn't sleep that night. Didn't dream. But something followed you back. You could feel it. Not evil. Not good. Just watching. At first, you told yourself it was stress. The dreams. The house. The mirror. Maybe your mind was still catching up. But the next morning, your apartment felt wrong. Subtle at first. The mug you'd left in the sink was now dry and clean. The window you'd always kept shut was open. The clock on the wall blinked 3 a.m. in broad daylight. You stood in the center of your living room, waiting for a feeling to settle. But all you felt was displacement, like you'd walked into someone else's version of your life. That night, the dream returned. But it wasn't the house this time. It was your apartment. Except, not quite. The walls were the wrong color. The door had no knob. And through the window, you could see a figure watching. Not moving. Just there. You tried to wake up. You couldn't. You screamed. Still nothing. Then, in a whisper, not from outside the dream, but inside your skull, you brought it back. When you finally woke, your throat was raw. The clock read 3 o'clock again, and your bedroom mirror, previously clean, was now fogged with a single word drawn in the haze. 6. You checked your phone. No notifications. No missed calls. But a new folder had appeared in your gallery. You hadn't created it. It had no name. Inside, a single image of your living room, taken from behind you. You called the phone company. They ran diagnostics. Said it was fine. No breaches. You tried deleting the folder. It wouldn't go away. So you reset the phone. Factory default. Gone. For now. Days passed. You avoided mirrors. You slept with the lights on. Friends noticed your distance, but you couldn't explain. You started hearing things. Not voices, but familiar sounds out of place. The creak of the porch from the dream in your hallway. The slow tick of the clock that hung in the house, now echoing faintly from your walls. Sometimes the sound of breathing. Not yours. Not close, but behind. Always behind. And then there was the girl. She began appearing in your peripheral vision. Never directly. Always at the corner of your eye. Just as you turned away. Long dark hair. Pale dress. No expression. Same as the woman in the mirror. One night, you caught a glimpse of her in the TV reflection. She didn't blink, but she smiled. You reached out to the man who posted about the house on the old forum. To your surprise, he responded. Just one sentence. If you went inside, it's already too late. Then silence. Account deleted. You started documenting everything. Photos, notes, dreams, timelines, and something began to form. Each time the girl appeared, you'd later dream of someone else. A neighbor, a stranger on the bus, an old classmate you hadn't seen in years. The next day, you'd hear they were gone. Accidents, sudden illness, disappearances. You stopped keeping track after the 7th. And then one night, the girl finally spoke. In a dream, of course, you were back in the house. Basement, same chair, same floor scratch with room 6. She stood behind you, but her voice came from in front. You looked when you shouldn't have. You turned. Now you see what others can't. And with that, she walked into the wall and vanished. You woke up with dirt on your hands. And under your bed, a scrap of wallpaper. The same pattern from the dream house hallway. You live in a building that was built in 2009. The paper was from 1946. You told yourself you'd go back. Back to the house. Burn it, maybe tear it down. But every time you tried to plan the trip, something stopped you. A flat tire. Power outage. One time. A black car idling outside your building for hours. No driver. No plates. When you approached it, it rolled away, slow and silent. And you knew the house didn't want you back, because whatever it had let follow you wasn't finished yet. You stopped dreaming for 3 weeks. No house. No mirrors. No girl. Just silence. A quiet. So deep it felt like the pause between heartbeats, as if your mind was waiting. Then, without warning, the dreams returned, but not like before. This time, you weren't in the house. You were the house. You could feel the wind against your shingles, the insects crawling through the walls, the weight of time in every floorboard. And you weren't empty. You were watching, waiting, inviting. When you woke, your body felt heavy, your skin dry like paint left a crack, your breath slow like air through forgotten vents, and your hands were dusty, with tiny splinters in the fingertips, like you'd been touching wood for hours. You tried staying awake for days. Lights on, TV loud, phone in hand. But when the sleep came, it came hard. And this time, the dream didn't wait for you to fall fully. You were walking, familiar, the forest trail, the same soft crunch of leaves, the same bend in the path. Except this time, there was someone walking next to you. Not the girl, not the woman from Mirror, yourself. Another version of you, silent, blank-faced, matching every step. But when you turned to speak, they were gone, and ahead of you, just like always, stood the house. But it looked different now, alive, breathing, and the front door wasn't closed. It was open, waiting. Inside, the walls pulsed with warmth. No more cold air or creaking. Instead, a hum, faint, constant. At the end of the hallway, the mirror gleamed. This time, you didn't avoid it. You looked in and saw every version of yourself who'd ever dreamed this place. The child, the skeptic, the one who screamed, the one who stayed silent. And just behind all of them stood the girl. She stepped forward, but this time she reached out a hand. You took it. The mirror cracked. You woke up screaming. This time you weren't alone. Your neighbor was banging on the door. Said they'd heard a voice coming from your apartment. Not yours. A child's. Laughing. Over and over. You didn't let them in. You didn't explain. You just sat in the dark until morning. The next night, the dreams didn't come. But the sound of the mirror cracking, you heard it again. Not in your sleep. In your bathroom. You rushed in. There it was. A jagged line down the middle. And in the glass, her face. Only for a second, then just your own. You moved out 3 days later. No forwarding address. No explanations. Just boxes, silence, and the heavy knowing that wherever you go, some doors don't close. They follow. You've never told anyone the full story. Not until now. And even now you wonder, are you telling it because it's over or because it isn't? Because sometimes when you're alone, you still hear the ticks, the soft creak of footsteps above you. Even when you live on the top floor, the whisper of room 6 just as you fall asleep. You haven't dreamed of the house again, but sometimes, just before you wake, you feel like you are the house, and someone just walked in. If this story stayed with you, if it followed you into the quiet, let me know in the comments what you think room 6 really was. And if you're still awake, don't forget to subscribe, and share this story with someone who dreams too much. Until next time, stay quiet, stay strange. This is A Quiet Else.